So we've got Grand Havoc, Perryville, October the 8th, 1862 here by Revolution Games. And I've just come to the start of the 5 p.m. turn here. And the key things going on really was at the end of the 4:40 p.m. turn, the Buell marker moved into the Buell commits section of the Buell alert track, having moved up in each of the previous turns, and that means that Buell can now activate 1 on hold brigade per turn, and he has just activated Fry's brigade from Schopf's division. I don't know how to pronounce that. Schopf. Anyway, Fry's brigade has just been activated and will now be, and so that divisional marker has gone into the cup, and we've got Fry here who can now activate each turn. And Fry, when they activate, brigades get an automatic manoeuvre. So Fry has just left his starting position down here. You can still see his artillery there, which does not get to activate as part of that manoeuvre. And he's just gone to protect the right flank of 1st Corps, which is still being steadily demolished. You can see a lot of 1st Corps regiments on the broken track there, trying to be rebuilt, but in many cases not with the space or not making the rolls or whatever. Harris has managed to rebuild back here behind the front line. Little is pretty much the only thing, really substantial brigade providing any sort of effective resistance, although Harris can come back into the fight. So Fry's come up here to form more of a defensive line. However, the Wharton's cavalry has captured this point here, which the Confederates need for 10 victory points. The scores are currently 10-10, but at the end of the game that'll be another 10, and all these casualties will take things heavily in the Confederates' favour. So yeah, I'm knocking things all over the place with my arm down here. That's not clever. Anyway, the Confederates are well ahead. If we scored now, the Confederates are well ahead. So the Union now have to try and put an attack together of their own, with Buell waking up and stuff coming into effect over the next the remaining turns. We've got 6 turns remaining. So by the end of those 6 turns, if the Buell track doesn't move any more, they will have 6 more brigades acting per turn than they do currently, which would allow the whole of 2nd Corps to be active, and would allow the whole of 3rd Corps would therefore be active, and would allow some of 2nd Corps to be coming on the map as well. And there's a point here that Adams is currently holding that the Union needs. This is 5 VPs, I think. The Union really need to put a lot of pressure and overwhelm this group to try and even up the casualties, capture that point, stabilise the position of 1st Corps. They've got a tough job to do, but you know, it's not a complete whitewash for the Confederates now that Buell has realised the danger that his army is in. So that's the position we've got. 6 turns to go, and you can see the Confederate line running, you know, down here with Perryville garrisoned, and the Union now under some obligation to turn this around. So just ended the 5 p.m. turn here in Perryville Grand Havoc, and you can see that the Dixville crossroads there is vacant. The Stuart's infantry managed to barge their way through and grab hold of that with an attack chit and a rebel yell event, but then they were forced back by some pretty potent fire from Little's infantry here, and that sent them reeling back. And so briefly in their hands, but there's now a bit of a standoff. The other thing that happened is that Buell's chit is now up here and he can activate 2 on whole brigades per turn. So joining Fry, we've got Stedman, part of Schnepp's, can't read that, Schöpf's division, and also Sheridan's division has now got Grusel activated, and they can keep adding 2 brigades as it stands. So yeah, you can see Stedman's brigade has marched north as well, and Fry and Stedman's are going to try and contest this area, this victory point location that the Confederates are holding with Maney and Wharton's cavalry. And of course Grusel will start trying to advance and take them with McCook and LeBolt. So Sheridan's tasked with trying to capture some spot under here that I think is a victory point location for them, under there. So that's Sheridan's job to try and grab that. And this is the sort of texture and the look of the situation changes markedly suddenly as these Union brigades come into play. And what that means is that actually both sides have been putting different chits in to the cup this turn. Normally it's an automatic decision for the Confederates to use their aggressive leader because it gives them an extra activation for a brigade that's already activated on a dice roll of 4 or less, and that's really potent for them on attack. And the Confederates have a brigade initiative token which lets them do the same on a dice roll of 4 or less, and it lets them activate with a brigade that is on hold. So that's really good for them as well. But now that they've got Buell actually taking command of the army, they don't need that so much, and actually they've got their rally chit in because they've got all this stuff here that they want to get out of the broken box. And on the Confederate side, with so much Union stuff starting to mobilise, they've got the one that messes up the opposing orders. I think it's called Command Confusion. They've thrown that in the cup to try and cross the Union wires when it comes to getting some of their troops into play. So now I'm going to roll for the rest of the chits to go in the cup. We're going to do some artillery fire backward and forward, and we're into the 5:20 p.m. turn. So I'm just coming into the 6:30 p.m. turn here in Perryville, Grand Havoc by Revolution Games. Lots of crazy stuff still going on, and I just want to focus on a few things going on here. Schopfer's entire division is now mobilised and activated up here. You can see Steedman's brigade here, and Fry's brigade and Walker's brigade sort of mixed in through here. Fry and Steedman are planning to try and attack Maney and force them off this area with the victory point location back here somewhere. So they're going to try and take control of this road again in the last few turns. So they're prepping for an attack. Fry should have made 2 attempts to attack already, but on both occasions he got his orders confused and sat there doing nothing instead. So the Confederate player has played the Command Confusion chit every time he's tried to activate for the last hour, and so he's sat there doing nothing, much to Buell's consternation. Webster will probably do a combination of try and support this attack and tuck in here to try and assist with the battle over Dixville Crossroads, which has just ebbed and flowed backwards and forwards. You can see nothing in there at the moment because it's an absolute wasteland. It's a killing ground in there. The Confederates the Union started off occupying it. The Confederates took it. They got forced back, and there's lots of artillery in here which shredded stuff in here. Then the Confederates surged forward and took it back, and then they got you got forced back again, and now neither side sort of able to muster the strength or conviction to actually enter that area, because it just seems to be yeah, a very, very bad news the moment you get in there with this artillery here, and very strong high infantry in here, but on this side Donaldson and Stewart's infantry with all these rifle armed units just pick off anything that tries to camp out in there. So it's very, very dangerous, and neither side can establish control. Johnson's brigade made an attempt to get across this open ground and just got shredded by the artillery up here on this hill, and that was the end of that. So yeah, the back and forth fighting across those crossroads has been extremely fierce. And then down here we come to Sheridan's division, and Grusel's brigade has forced its way forward. Concentrate Sheridan's artillery and then some musketry forced away the defenders. Grusel's artillery has taken that spot there on the other side of this ford, which the Union want to control. So yeah, really interesting things going on in this battle, and the sort of stories of the battle are really told by these by the build up of these individual elements. The individual sort of stories over the back and forth over the crossroads slowly accumulates and accumulates until you get a picture of a battle unfolding, and the delays and delays and delays to this attack slowly unfold until you get a picture of what's occurring. So it sort of builds the picture of the battle in these tiny little piecemeal chunks that you then accumulate over time until you end up with the structure of a narrative, but you don't see it all in sort of grand terms. It really is a battle made up of individual skirmishes and individual catastrophes and little disasters and great triumphs, or tiny triumphs here and there across the battlefield, which slowly coalesce. It's really fascinating to watch, and yeah, very different from a lot of the bigger, grander, less granular games. So cool in that respect, really enjoying it. But to get it, you sacrifice some control, because as I said in one of the earlier videos, you know, your overall strategy is very largely dictated by the game construct, the victory point construct, the Buell track and the release rules and all that palaver. But what it leaves you with is still really enjoyable. Anyway, 3 turns left, all to play for. No idea who's winning this at the moment. I mean, well, I think the Confederates are winning right now if we totted the scores up, but if they can't hold this crossroads, then it's and this Maney and this cavalry gets beaten up by a division of stuff, you know, at 2 or 3 to 1 odds, and the Confederates the Union get rocking down here. That could all change very rapidly. So yeah, it's still all in the balance. So I've reached the end here in Perryville, Grand Havoc, Perryville, whichever way around you like it. Haven't done the scores yet, but key points over the last few turns. There's been a huge scrap down here between Sheridan's division, which was Labolt, McCook and Grusel. You can see McCook, lots of casualties, Labolt, lots of casualties, Grusel, lots of casualties, but they have forced Adams' brigade back and held this location here, so they've been successful in securing that. You can see part of the Second Corps, Van Cleve's division of the Second Corps on here, and I could have brought 3 more brigades on in the final turn, but they weren't going to really get anywhere, so it just seemed like busy work to do that, so I didn't bother. There should be 3 more brigades sort of marching forward. Anyway, they ran out of time to do anything as night falls here. So the Confederates managed to hold on to Perryville. And then further up here, where First Corps got decimated, had quite a funny few turns here with, this is Schopfer's division of Steedman, Fry and Walker. and they've either not made the rolls to do anything, or when they have managed an attack order, the Confederates have played a command confusion chit, and Fry has had a succession of manoeuvre and regroup orders, and not made any ground. Steedman did get an attack order in, but was roundly beaten up when he tried to get across this gully here to attack into the victory point location, and you can see he's got some casualties there and stuff. So yeah, forced to retreat away, and they were never able to coordinate any sort of attack against Maney's brigade there, even though you had an entire division attacking a brigade. You can see they've successfully separated that sort of hilltop from the rest of the Confederate army, but it's too late in the day to surround them and pick them off. So yeah, I think the points totals are going to look like a Confederate win, but we'll see. I ought to be, given the situation. They've taken a couple of objectives. They've been racking up points for holding 2 of the objective hexes, and yeah, the Union have made a fight of it, but their inability to capture this spot probably cost them the game, or recapture it, I should say. Let's see what the points are. I'll just tot them up and come back. So I totted the VPs up just from the locations, and it's 32 to 21 for the rebels, and then we need to add some for destroyed units, or you lose them for destroyed and units in this box. So the Union are losing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they are going from 21 back to 12. And the rebels are losing 1, 2, 3, 4, and going from 32 to 28. And that is 28 to 12, 16-point victory margin. And the rules say a margin of 11 or more is a smashing victory and the permanent loss of Kentucky for the losing side. Yeah, so a really solid Confederate win here. I did at one stage think that the Union were easily going to take this back, and that would have lost them. That would have been a 10-point swing, and they'd have had a win, but not much of a win, I think, because they were on 28. That would have put them to 18 to 12. It would have given them a marginal victory, but the ability to hold this spot was the difference. And yeah, so that's a major Confederate victory. Yeah, liked the game, liked it a lot. There's a sense sometimes that it's playing itself, but that's not the case. It's just that the chits just give you really small little micro actions, and as I said in a previous video, it's the accumulation of all those little individual battles and little stories that build the picture of the big overall battle, which is really hard to capture on film, because unless I went through and detailed them as they were occurring, you can't really get that feel for them. But we've had, as I said before, a really major backwards and forwards battle between Sheridan's Corps and Adams' Brigade, backed up by Little's Brigade here, and some well-placed artillery trying to hold this centre spot. A real stalemate that developed here. To begin with, it looked like Donaldson and Stewart were just going to, and actually Cleburne, were going to roll right through this first corps, but they just ran out of momentum, and the open ground out here, plus some artillery, and slowly running out of guys, sort of the momentum stalled out, and they ran into Little and Harris's brigades, and those were much tougher than a lot of the other stuff in the first corps, and they managed to hold it together because Webster's brigade and Terrell's brigade just completely disintegrated. So Jackson's division entirely disintegrated, but Little and Harris were able to hold it together, and then reinforcements came in and pressured the Confederates without actually managing to regain territory that they needed. So yeah, really interesting stories all over the board here, and really enjoyed the game and the system. I don't know. I mean, I've got A Most Fearful Sacrifice to play, and that's a big old game. It's probably got several plays in it, or at least several scenarios. I don't know if I'd play this one again necessarily. So this one may go on the sell pile, although, you know, with no regrets at all having bought it. It's a fantastic game. I'm going to move on to a completely different era, I think, now, and give up the sort of musketry stuff for a little while, especially since I think I'll probably get some Napoleonic games arrive soon. The Alau game from Sound of Drums, hopefully the Napoleonic one from Lock and Load arrives at some point as well. So they'll be coming soon, so I need something different. But anyway, Grand Havoc Perryville, smashing game, really enjoyed it, and yeah, recommend it if you you know, fancy this era at all.